Diego Pavia came out today in multiple statements, the Vandy quarterback, along with his head coach and Clark Lee, stating the following was Clark Lee: "We will be playing meaningful games in the month of January." Pavia says he returns because he wants to not only win the SEC, and he thinks that they are going to win the SEC, that they're a national title contender. Joe, your thoughts on the Vandy quarterback?
This has gotten out of hand. Did you see the pictures today?
I did.
Our friend Chris Phillips posted a picture of him having one of the biggest media scrums ever for a player.
I did.
We've had
it was
some
Arch Manning level.
Well, I'm curious to see how big the one is going to be for Arch. There were way too many bodies excited to hear what Diego Pavia had to say. And the reason why they were is because they knew he was going to give them a quote. This man is cashing checks way before they've even stepped on the field. Like, he is declaring so much. One of my favorite things that I always hear from people that talk about achieving goals, and, as a motivated person, like, do you know what my goals are?
What are your goals?
I don't share them with anyone, because when you go around telling everybody what you want to accomplish and you don't accomplish them, you look like a clown. You look like a dumbass when you go around making these statements. And I'm not trying to dig into Diego this bad, but why are they all of a sudden declaring all of these things? I missed last year when they had a chip on their shoulder and they were proving everybody wrong, and it was exciting and it was fun. And I thought that was the energy that they were going to have coming into this year. That's not what they're having. They're way in over their heads. Can we relax on the national championship talk? You went 7-6. How many 7-6 football teams do you know won national titles and won the SEC after that bad of a season? It doesn't happen. And if they do, it's because of their prolific program. They need to settle down.
Did it.
Again, a prolific program. Do you think Pavia and Clark Lee are the next coming to Nick Saban? Like, no.
No, I don't. I got to be honest with you. I'm over the Diego Pavia situation. Look, two things can be true at once. He could be a really good college quarterback, which a lot of people believe he's a really good college quarterback. But I don't think that he takes this game seriously. Not enough. Joe, can they get to 9 wins before we're talking about playing in the month of January for meaningful playoff games? I mean, like, listen, I do not agree. It is official list season, and everybody's coming out with their list of quarterbacks and tiering. Diego Pavia, for some, is in their top 5. Brother, I mean, what? Down the stretch, Diego Pavia in the month of November played worse than any quarterback in the SEC. It was horrendous. Joe, down the stretch in Texas when they lost by 3, he had 2 fumbles in critical situations. 2. I think what happened is that they upset Alabama. Of all teams that they could have upset, they upset the Death Star. They upset the biggest program in the last 2 decades. And when that happened in year 1 under the Kalen DeBoer, a different thing happened to Vandy. Whether we like it or not, when that happened, when that moment took place for Vanderbilt, Joe, a whole different other thing started happening at Vanderbilt. Whether we like it or not, there became excitement around Vanderbilt football. Yep. A team that 2 weeks before that lost to, what was it, Georgia State, if I'm not mistaken? Georgia State. Georgia State. And I'm supposed to sit here and say to myself, hey, it's not just him. Now, there is something I do like. I like that you're shooting for it. I don't mind you going.
That's fine. Yeah, that's all so fine to me. Continue before I
no, I mean, I'm sure we're going to. I love that Clark Lee is building something at a program that historically has not done anything. But, Joe, here's the problem I have with this. What if John Mateer in Oklahoma come out here and says something like that? What if Jackson Arnold and Auburn comes out here and says something like that? They both were 6-6 teams a year ago. So what would be the difference of teams that went 6-6 in the conference last year versus what Diego Pavia is saying? Because it's little old Vandy and everybody wants to go for the underdog?
I think I would share the same sentiment for those programs as well if both of those guys came out and they had statements like that. And I think that they're both smart enough to know that they're not going to make declarative statements like that. And you just said here, I don't mind shooting for high aspirations and wanting to out-achieve everybody. Like that is the ultimate goal of the sport is you want to outperform everybody. But doing it in a public setting and doing all these interviews, I've seen Diego Pavia do so many interviews this offseason, more than anybody. Doing all these interviews, talking about everything, talking about how now you want to win a national title. It is turned into a separate monster is what this whole thing has become. Have these conversations. And he said, late on a Saturday night when they're putting in work and it's 2-3 in the morning and we were sitting and talking about this as their vision. That was his quote. And I don't mind that concept of like being up late on a Saturday and they were saying that they were out and they were doing work and they weren't like out partying, getting drunk or doing any of that stuff. They were just trying to get better. They were talking about like, man, these hours are going to help us win a national title. That's fine to me. Talk about in the weight room. Talk about it in the locker room. Don't do it in the media availability. LSU has the right to talk about this stuff because Brian Kelly has been to a national championship and his team has those expectations.
But they're not talking it like that. All they're saying
they weren't, but it was getting brought up. Yeah,
all they said today.
That was a lot of what they talked about. National championships, I think, was brought up in some of the quotes, but I don't remember off the top of my head. You would remember better than me. But it was not this declarative. But they have the right to, because if they don't get there, that is a failure for them this season. It's the same thing for Alabama. It's the same thing for Georgia and for Texas. Vanderbilt getting to a national championship would be an amazing upset and a fun story. But why are you declaring this out loud to everybody with a microphone in front of your face? Do it in the locker room. It comes off non-genuine. I don't mind talking shit, man. We do it on this show. But doing it to that degree, when you understand that all the odds are stacked against you, is nuts to me to not understand what you're putting on your shoulders and everybody is now facing against you.
It's not the only thing that he's done either. If he came out there today and said, we want to play for the SEC championship, we were in a lot of one-score games a year ago that we think that now we can overcome and win those games. So the fact of the matter is, they were in a lot of one-score games. They lost to LSU by 7. They lost to Texas by 3. Some of those games, they're within a score. So relatively, I don't think that they're as far off as we're maybe making it out to seem. I actually believe that they're not as far as maybe people believe that Vanderbilt could be in reference to where they normally are. I have a problem with you also going out there and saying after this year, Vanderbilt will run the state of Tennessee. I have a problem with you going on with busting the boys, calling out media saying, who is this, who is that? I don't know any of you. I don't like that you talking about that we were up working hard at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. No, you weren't, because I have your Snapchat. No, you weren't. I got pictures of you in a club. I have pictures of you with your brother with a blacked out Escalade. No, you weren't. So you can come in here and say all of that, and it's fine and dandy. But, Joe, I'm going to tell you something. When you start giving a lot of teams bulletin board material, a.k.a. Bama, and you got to go into that place, you got to go into Texas, you got LSU coming into town, good luck. Good luck. Because you're getting to a situation where you're starting to piss. You're giving bulletin board material. You better have really gone after this in the offseason, but then at the same time, I got you in a blacked out Escalade in front of a club with chains on. And there's nothing wrong with that, But don't tell me that you've been out there working your ass off when your Snapchat is for the public to see.
That's not that part, but the part before that, the bulletin board material part is the biggest for me. For anyone who wants to hop in the comments and be like, why are you guys being such haters? It's not about us calling issue with this. We've been in a locker room before. This made me think of when you said that. It made me think of Dan Lanning's pregame speech before they played Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
And the intensity in that man's eyes when he said, they're doing it for clicks. We're out here to win football games. All of that, all these clips, the week leading up to the games, when they play all of them, and especially Kalen DeBoer, you saw how motivated they were against Georgia. I'm so serious right now. If they only win like 5 football games this year and they get splattered by a couple of teams that they're going around talking all this crazy nonsense about how they were so close and they beat all these statements from
You're not
Pavia,
sneaking up on anybody anymore.
I'm telling you right now, and you probably can think of an example on your end. We all have, those who've played college ball, an example of an opponent where the whole week all you did is play clips of a team that you lost to the year before. And just like quotes that you find in articles or whatever it is. And like, they are against you. Remember all the cheap shit that they did to you last year. And that will be the most intense week of practice that team will see. And it will be the most intense opponent out of all the teams on their schedule that Vanderbilt will have to face.
Last thing, because we got to get to Kiffin really quickly. Last thing I'll say to this. When I was in college, the Facebook came out. That's what it was called, the Facebook. Texas State had a defensive lineman that was going under our quarterback girlfriend's photos and commenting on them.
Okay.
Texas State lost 56-3 at Southeastern.
This is my point.
Exactly. And
by the way,
Texas State is in the Pac-12 now.